1. Back in the 7th and 8th grade, I went to an alternative school for students who could not do so well in public schools. And I hated going. I would make up any excuse in the world not to go, but in this one particular day, in January, I was more motivated to go than usual, although I can't remember exactly why. So, the day actually started the night before with my actually trying to get a decent night's sleep for once, rather than staying up playing PS2. Yeah, it was that long ago. So the next morning, I wake up still feeling tired despite this, but I crawl out of bed, got dressed into whatever clothes stunk the least, and went into the kitchen to grab myself a cup of coffee. I then make it in a thermos that I'd carry with me to school, and after checking the time, I head outside on a cold morning to wait for the van to pick me up from my driveway. So I sit down on the bench I made myself and start to wait. 10 minutes pass. Nothing. 20 minutes pass. Still nothing. So I get ready to go back inside when I wake up. My mom had come into my room to wake me up, screaming I was going to oversleep again. I do my routine again, but this time in a hurry so I don't miss my van. This time around, the van was on time, and I had a decent day at school. 2. I try to think of myself as a skeptical person. As for the most part, I am. I'm capable of taking most things with a grain of salt, and leaving room for a scientific explanation and whatnot. However, there have been some things in my 28 years of life that I've been unable to explain, and this is one of them. I've been sitting here, reading funky stories and whatnot all morning, and I figured it's high time I actually started sharing some of my weird or interesting occurrences. One night in the summer of 2013, my friend and I were hanging out at my mother's apartment, where I had been staying since I'd recently moved back to town. She was out for the night, so it was just he and I. My mother lives in government housing, so she does not have a very big apartment. Coming into it from the front door, you're immediately in her living room. One door of normal size on the left that goes to her bedroom and bathroom, and a hallway straight ahead that leads shortly to the dining room and kitchen. We had been watching movies and listening to music in the living room, and we decided to move to the bedroom so we could relax and watch something, rather than being stuck on the couch. I'd stood up from the couch and grabbed my phone and stuff, got the TV switched off, and he also got off the couch where he'd been sitting beside me, and was gathering his things from the coffee table. I began to walk the 6 feet or so to the bedroom door. My friend was behind me, and I saw him behind me out of the corner of my eye for a good few feet, still gathering up his phone, cigarettes, etc. We were talking about what we wanted to watch next, when I realized I should remind him to grab his wallet and make sure he didn't leave anything to possibly forget when he left later, because he's rather scatterbrained. I was literally in the doorway that leads to the bedroom, and I grabbed the door frame to my left with my hand and turned to address him directly. I had remembered that his wallet was already in the bedroom on the nightstand, where we'd been earlier in the evening watching TV, and I'd gotten out, "Hey, your wallet is," when I noticed he wasn't behind me. This immediately puzzled me, and I whirled around only to find him standing in the bedroom already, somehow, beside the bed near the nightstand, with his wallet in his hand, holding it up to show me. We stared at each other for a second, and both kind of did the, whoa, what the hell thing, before I immediately started freaking out, asking him what the hell had happened, how he could have ever possibly gotten around me into the bedroom in the span of around 2 to 3 seconds without me noticing, asking him what he remembered just happening, and trying to generally just calm us both down and figure out what had happened. I was postulating everything, There was absolutely no way he could have squeezed through behind me without me feeling him. Neither of us are that lithe. I thought maybe I had lost a moment in time, but I never moved from the doorway. And again, he'd have had to squeeze past me to get into the room. There was no way he got in before I started walking towards it, because I was still talking to him behind me as I walked to the door. And I could see him in the majority of the short amount of time it took me, until I turned around in the doorway to face him in the living room, where he should still have been. After sitting there for around 30 minutes, and rehashing what we both remembered of the very short encounter, going over every possible reasoning we could think of, explaining both of our sides of the thing that happened, which was incredibly simple, and a very, very small amount of time, we both just gave up. We couldn't explain it. There was no possible way he could have moved around me, or before me into the bedroom. And there was no moment in between the time I got to the doorway and saw him behind me, and when I turned and saw him in the bedroom, that I was not standing directly in the doorway. And some of that time with my body to one side of it, and my arm on the other side grabbing the doorframe. We were both pretty weirded out for the rest of the night, and we couldn't stop talking about it. But we eventually gave up trying to explain it, and just let it rest. Trying to ignore it instead. I still have no explanation for what happened, aside from a glitch in the Matrix. I never felt like I lost a moment in time. I never felt him move near me. All I know is, in the span of just a couple seconds, is that my friend somehow was in one room and then another, with absolutely no logical explanation of how it happened, how he got there, or what possibly could have gone on to allow such a thing. Still to this day we talk about it every now and then when we get together, to see if it's happened to one of us again, or if either of us have come up with something else or noticed something. And the answer is always no on all accounts. 3. This happened a few weeks ago. I was sitting on the couch watching TV, the Travel Channel series Expedition Unknown, I think, with my boyfriend. An empty bottle of Gatorade was sitting in front of the TV, partially blocking part of the screen. I said something like, "Ugh, can you move that for me?" Or, "Ugh, I don't want to get up and move it." Anyway, right after that, I waved my hand sort of like I was using the force to move it. Now at this point, I stopped in my head. I thought, what if I could move that Gatorade bottle with my mind, like in the movie Matilda? I thought about telling my boyfriend this, but didn't. Either him or I got up and moved it out of the way and continued watching TV, and left it at that. 20 minutes later I was in the kitchen, about to go out in the back porch to smoke, when me and my boyfriend were talking. He was on his way into the kitchen from the living room. They're connected. And all of a sudden, he got kind of a distant look in his eyes while I was thinking about how I didn't mention the Matilda thing. And he looked at me, square in the eye, and said, "Matilda?" I was so taken aback, I said, "What? What makes you say that?" He said he didn't know why he said it. I pushed further, asking him questions about the movie, which he has seen but hadn't seen or thought about in almost a decade. His daughter used to like it. He had no clue. I asked him if he thought that because of how I waved my hand earlier, and he said no. So I told him how I thought about the movie, and was going to tell him about it, but didn't. For the record, we have had some experiences before akin to mind reading. I don't know, just thought it was weird. Let me know what you think. 4. This story happened over 12 years ago. My brother and I are 3 years apart. This story happened around the time I was 9 and he was 6. One night, my whole family went out to dinner. Before we left for dinner, my dad set the house alarm, and we went on our way. Dinner went by as usual, and nothing strange had happened till we got home. When we pulled up, we could hear from the garage the house alarm going off. My dad rushed inside, golf club in hand, while my brother, mother, and I waited by the car outside. Finally, after a few minutes, my dad called my mom inside and explained it was safe for us to come in. When we walked inside, there was an old, confused man sitting at our kitchen table. We lived 2 houses over from a nursing home, and my dad claimed that he must have gotten out and somehow made his way in through our back door, and is very confused. We called the nursing home, and 2 security guards walked over and escorted the man back safely. My whole family was very quiet that night, due to how sad the situation was. The old man was very confused, and we had a family member with Alzheimer's, so it really hit home. But that's not the strange part. Eventually, I forgot all about this memory, until one morning at breakfast when I was about 16 years old. Something had reminded me of this time. I started asking my parents about it, and they looked extremely confused, telling me this never happened. I waited for my brother to wake up, and the second he walked downstairs, I asked him if he had any memory of the old man that somehow got into our house. He remembered it clearly. My parents started asking us questions, and my brother and I could explain the whole situation in extreme detail, down to where we went to dinner that night, and what the old man looked like, how many people came to bring him back to the nursing home. Every detail we had was the same. Mind you, we hadn't talked about this in years, but both of my parents had no memory of this happening. This became a big argument in my house because this had always just been a memory of my brother and mine, and we had no idea how my parents could say it never happened. I'm 22 now, and I can still picture the whole night. I can picture the man. I can picture every second of this strange occurrence. Sometimes my brother and I talk about it, but we can never come to a conclusion on how it's possible only we remember this strange event, and with such detail considering how young we were. I'm not sure if it was a dream we both happened to have, but the details and memory just seem so real. If my parents are really that forgetful, which they never have been before, so that's really out of the question. Or if something really strange happened to my brother and I, and it's just completely unexplainable. I just thought I should share this with you guys, considering it brings chills down my spine every time I think about it. Edit. Just to clear up a few of the things people are claiming could have happened. This man was not a family member. I am sure of this because I have visited this nursing home many times. We used to bring my dog for the elders to play with. The nursing home is very small. The fact they even had 2 security guards to retrieve this man is shocking to say the least, considering the size of this facility. If this man was someone my family would be hiding from me, we would have never frequented the place. Also, my mother loves to talk. If this story had been something that she recalled, this would be a continuous conversation at every family party. She still talks about the night a moose set off the house alarm, and everyone in the house ran around in their underwear trying to catch it. Considering she still talks about this, a man breaking into my house would not be something she forgets. I called my cousin after posting this story. She is the exact same age as me, and she claims that she remembers on 2 separate occasions me telling her about the man and my brother telling her, both with identical stories. When I was 17, I actually saw a man wandering the street that had escaped from the nursing home, and I had to call him and wait in the road till he was retrieved, so clearly this nursing home thing isn't a strange occurrence. My brother and I have thought of going down there and asking if this event is documented, but considering it was probably only 2003, I'm imagining any written paperwork would be long gone. Knowing both my parents, someone breaking into our house would not be forgotten. It's more a matter of how my brother and I have a clear memory of this event, but they don't. 5. So one day when I was a small kid, I was at my house playing. From what my parents told me, I suddenly said that an old guy came in our house. The entrance was behind a wall, so I couldn't see it. There was no sound from someone coming in either. When my parents told me to describe him, I, apparently, gave the perfect description of my grandfather who died during the Second World War. After that, I started acting like I wasn't myself, and my parents took me to the church, where an exorcism took place. I never had problems after that. Now I'll explain what the glitch is. And I have a weird feeling like this has to do with my past. 6 years ago, I dreamt about a beautiful girl I never saw before. I forgot it pretty fast, and went on with my life. Fast forward 3 years. I go to see my new classmates, as changes happen often in our school. A teacher told me to sit somewhere next to a girl. I don't mind, as I'm mostly focused on the course anyway. The girl wanted to talk, so I turned my head to her side, and I fucking can't believe what I see. I remember more from that dream from 3 years before, where I actually kissed this girl that sat next to me. I tried to shake it off and make short talks with this girl, as I know it would be weird if I explain what I know, although this sounds weird. I knew I loved this girl even though I saw her here the first time of my life. I lost contact with her after we finished that year in school, but 1 year ago we started talking. We became good friends, and I still had feelings for her after 2 years. That summer, we were friends for 5 months, and I thought I'd invite her for a sleepover. We enjoyed the day, and I remembered from a conversation that she liked watching the sunset, so I had the brilliant idea to take her somewhere where I knew we could look at the sunset. We get there, some time passes, and we just keep talking like friends. One thing led to another, and the next thing I remember, I kiss her. The exact same feeling as in my dream. With the exact same girl. First glitch. We had a happy relationship, but I got sleepless nights. In January, I had a dream where my girlfriend broke up with me. I remember her telling me that she can't handle my mood switches and my overall attitude. I started getting the feeling that I'm being watched, and I get nightmares about a weird shadow figure controlling me. I start getting nauseous regularly, and I get some déjà vus again. And now I'm here. The breakup was as I expected, on the same date and time as I remembered. 24th of the 6th, 2016, 2 p.m. From my dream. And for the same reason. Second glitch. So now, where I really need advice, help. I remember a dream where I had an accident. A bus I was in drove against a wall, and the last thing I remember is pain in my neck and back. I'm having a hard time with the breakup, but I'm worried that I'm in some serious danger. Should I do something or just keep going with my life? Any advice is helpful, and I really want to answer any questions you guys have. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 true Glitch in the Matrix stories. Well, these videos, they can be awful difficult to put together. That's why there wasn't one last week. And this one I only actually just finished a couple of hours before uploading it. But I am being a good boy this week. I've managed to get most of the stories I need for the paranormal on Friday and the TIFU on Saturday. I think I'm just waiting on one for each. So I can reasonably say I'll definitely have those up this week. Okay, let me think what else. Closing in that 10,000 spot. Although I had a bit of a glitch myself, actually. Went to bed last night and, let's see, where was I? I was 37 subscribers away from it. Woke up today, I'd lost about 30 subscribers. Can't imagine what could have caused that, so I'm just going to assume it was some sort of glitch. Or maybe I've just gotten that bad that people are leaving in droves. Okay, now I know I've promised you guys novels, and I think I'm going to start doing those soon. And the only thing that's been holding me up is I was a little uncertain of the consistency and audio quality, but I think I've got most of that worked out to where I want it to be now. So, yeah, just once I start it, I'll have to keep going for however many, 20 odd weeks or however many chapters it goes on for. So I think I'll probably be starting Dracula soon. Oh, well, let me think, there was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, right. I might actually repeat this in my next True Scary Stories video because not as many people watch the glitch stories, but I'll say it here anyway. If you would like to submit a story to me, please send it to me via email. The reason for that is basically I need something I can point to where I can say, yep, this person sent me that story and I have their full permission to use it. An email's helpful with that. It's really just a matter of having it for my records. And if you're wondering how you find my email, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can go to the main page and click on the About section, or on any video I've uploaded, just click on Show More in the description, just where it says Show More, then scroll down to the bottom past all the credits, all the links to the pictures and stories I've shared, and you will then find my email address there. And if you are one of the kind people who have sent me a story recently, thank you very much. I promise I will get that up as soon as I have enough. It shouldn't be too much longer, really. I think that's it. This might actually be a bit later going up than it had to be because I only just got this story. And, well, yesterday I was woken up, and I'm kind of a night person. I prefer the nighttime hours. And getting woken up at just after 8 o'clock by workmen in your front and back gardens isn't exactly ideal. Popped my head out and asked one of them, what's going on? Oh, we're replacing your paths. Okay, it'd be nice if someone had let me know. But I think that's them done now. There was a bit of hammering and banging earlier, and that seems to be them done. So there should be no more interruptions in Hellfreezer's recording schedule. That's not really important, I'm just mentioning it. And oh crap, okay, this has kind of dragged on longer than I expected. Okay, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.